welcome. Today we're talking to John Williams. He's the founder of the Ideas Lab and author of F-Work, Let's Play, which is just right now on the top. It's like #1 in the book nonfiction of the month in the W.H. Smith's in England, which is a huge deal because that's like the biggest chain of bookstores, and it's in like basically all airports, at least in Europe. So that is huge. Congratulations, John.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for inviting me. Sorry, what did you say?
How did you achieve that?
How did I achieve that? Well, this book, the new book with the swear word, is actually a new edition of a book that came out 10 years ago, and that was called Screwwork, Let's Play. And it's been upgraded since then. We got it was actually the retailer that suggested, we give it a stronger swear word. Yeah. It seems to have worked for sales because it's it's done very well. So this has been translated into 10 languages, the original version of the book. And yeah, how did I achieve it? I think I just felt really strongly, even 10 years ago, that the world of work had changed, and that I think a lot of people don't realize quite how much choice we have now, and that you can make a living out of pretty much anything you can think of if you're really determined. That doesn't mean it's always easy, and some things are easier than others, but there's almost nothing you couldn't make money out of if you're really determined to do it. And we couldn't do that. We certainly couldn't do that 20 years ago. And so often we're following the advice of our parents, and it's out of date.
Yeah.
And I just that's why I wanted to use a swear word to try and make this point as strongly as possible, which is it's not about not really doing any work. It's about not doing work that you don't choose to do. It's about escaping the 9 to 5 and creating work that feels so enjoyable, or that suits you so well that it's kind of more like play than work. In the sense that sometimes play is very intense. If you look at professional sports people, they're playing a game, but they're playing it very, very intensely. So it's not about avoiding effort. And I think it's 10 years later, this book is kind of even more relevant because more people begin to wake up to it. It was a little bit ahead of its time 10 years ago, and now I think people are ready for it, which is probably what's helped make it successful.
It must have hit a nerve of some kind since it's skyrocketed like that.
Yeah, I think so. And I think I felt that during the pandemic, it was a little bit like when I wrote the first version of the book, it was just after the financial crash of 2008. And what was interesting is that people who were fortunate enough to have options in their work, instead of just trying to run to make money as fast as possible, I saw them going almost the opposite way, which is, well, what do I really want to do? And since, the world seems to have turned upside down anyway, why don't I just think about what I really want to do? And there's some proof, in fact, and some evidence. When there's a big crash, often people who would otherwise go and work in a bank or something go into teaching and things like that. So actually, one of the things they've found is that the quality of teaching tends to go up. But I thought the pandemic would have the same effect because for multiple reasons. One is that I think it was kind of a shock for people to go through, to realize that the world can change so dramatically, so quickly. Yeah. And I think also people were forced to work from home for the first time. And if you're sitting at home working on your laptop, it's a very natural progression to think, well, could I not be doing this anywhere? For instance, right now, I'm in Las Palmas and Gran Canarias, in the Gran Canaria. And it's because I don't like the British winter, which is where I normally live in London. And I find the winter goes on for you probably have even worse, but in London, it lasts about 5 months. And it's just gray and rainy and cold. And it's fun for a month. And then it's like, okay, I've had enough. So I can work from anywhere. And so I came to the Canary Islands. And a lot of people realizing that, but they're also realizing, well, if I can work from home on a laptop, could I not be doing this for myself? And so what we saw was what's now been called the Great Resignation. So a lot of people quitting their jobs, A lot of people reassessing their life to working out what they really want to do. We saw a big uptick in company registrations. And so I think it's the right time for people to buy a book, which is all about discovering work that you love doing and reinventing yourself.
Yeah, because I think most people don't have a clue what to do. I want to do something else, but they're really scared to leave their jobs.
Yeah.
But now is the time, because we might all die. So it's about time to do what I want to do, but how do I do it?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, back in March last year, we didn't know, we had no idea how bad it was going to be, whether, supply chains were going to break down. And, it was we forget almost quite how scary it was back then. Fortunately, in some regards, it's not been that serious a virus, although it's killed a lot of people. It could have been much worse. But yeah, it's made people think. And for people who can't work out what they want to do, I talk about this in the book. And I think there's a couple of problems that lead to that situation. So if anyone's listening or watching this who can't work out, they know we want to do something different, we don't know what. Usually we get stuck on this for a couple of reasons. One is that we don't know ourselves very well. And unfortunately, there's no quick solution to that. If you're not in touch with yourself and your feelings and your body, in fact, because your feelings are in your body, it's very difficult to work out what you'd like to do. So you need to tune into yourself. You need to start to pay attention to how you feel and take your feelings seriously. And there's a little bit in the book. Actually, I know it's in my next book. I can't remember, but it might be my next book about how to feel. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's one I'm working on, a new one. Because you do meet a certain proportion of people who just have no idea, how they feel about anything. And men are worse at this than women, to speak in broad brushstrokes. Just statistically speaking. So that's one problem, and you need to kind of just tune in and work out, how do I feel, and start to take your, sensations and your feelings in your body seriously, because that's your
yes. Compass. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. It's your compass, right? It's like, otherwise you're trying to navigate.
Yes. we made
we actually have a program. It's called The Compass.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Based on that.
yeah, it's great. And that is, yes, that's exactly what so that, like, I can't give you, there's an exercise which is basically that I did for myself, because I was one of these people 30 years ago or something. And basically, if you ask yourself several times a day, how do I feel? The answer might be, I don't know, but just keep asking. And then, there might be just you can start with sensations in the body, like I feel cold, I feel tired. You might be able to spot that even if you can't feel, I'm unhappy or I'm pissed off or whatever. So that's one question. And then the next one is, what do I want? So is there something I want? Is it, if I'm hungry, does it mean I want to eat right now? If I'm pissed off, what does that mean? Or maybe it means I want to get away from that person who's annoying me, or maybe it means I want to talk to that person who's annoying me, or whatever. And then what can I do about it is the third question. And, is there an action you can take, which is, phone somebody and arrange to talk to them, or whatever it might be.
Eat a sandwich.
And do that multiple times. Yeah, eat a sandwich. Do that multiple times a day, and you do it for long enough, and you'll start to tune in. Therapy is also good. Body therapy is. So that's part of the problem. But the other problem is that people discount the ideas they come up with. So I talk about pinball thinking. It's like you come up with an idea, I could do this. And then it's like in a pinball machine when a ball kind of shoots into the machine, and then it starts ricocheting around all the whatever you call those things, the bumpers or whatever, in a pinball machine. And that's like what happens in the head. It would go like, oh yeah, but, and then you think of some reason why it wouldn't work, or some possible obstacle, or some part of it you wouldn't like. And that is that, and then what happens is the ball, pinball, the ball then falls down the hole, and you start with another ball, and then the same thing happens and it falls down the hole, and you never end up getting anywhere. So rather than having things ricochet around your mind, it's better to brainstorm a whole load of ideas, for things you might want to do, irrespective of whether they will work or not, whether you'd enjoy them for definite, whether they could ever make money. Just brainstorm and do a kind of, a brain dump, and ban yourself from evaluating them, and then write them all, in a file or on a page. I quite like writing on paper when I'm doing these kind of exercises, and then put it away for a day, and the next day come back and go, okay, what are the strengths and weaknesses of each of these ideas? And there's an exercise in the book about how to break it down, and how to break down what are the bits I like about this, what are the bits I might not enjoy, what are the practical obstacles, what strengths do I bring to it? So, what experiences, contacts, and skills do I bring to it? And then, can I see a clear way that this can make money? And there's a worksheet, in fact, we can perhaps give a link for that. It's called the Idea Evaluation Sheet. You can find it if you go to the F-Work Let's Play website. And if you kind of break down your ideas, take like your top 3, stick it on a sheet like that, break down the pros and cons, you'll end up a lot better answer than if you just, as soon as you find a slight problem with an idea, you just throw it out the window. So that's if people, know they want to do something different, don't know what it is, that's my recommended advice.
Yeah. But it's also, I think that might be one of the reasons that your book is now a bestseller like that, is because before people were working, they didn't have time to sense anything. They were too busy with, busyness.
Yeah.
And now they've had time, many have had time to sit down and contemplate and
walk in nature and so on.
Like there's so many things we couldn't do, so the only option was to go out in nature. And when you go there, suddenly things become clear and you can get ideas. Yeah. It's like, do I really want to be sat in front of my computer?
Yeah.
Actually now I'm meeting my children. They seem to be nice. Maybe I should spend more time with them.
Yeah.
Or I really want to get away from my children.
Yeah. I heard Andrew Huberman, I think his name is, on a podcast, and he talks about neuroscience, and he says when you take a walk, there's a kind of, I think he called it optical flow. There's something about things passing your eyes that puts your brain in a certain state that enables you to come up with fresh solutions. And it's well known in the creativity coaching world, in the writing world, but lots of anecdotes of how walking, for instance, particularly in nature, helps.
I was actually trying to get a hold of him for this series, but I didn't manage. But maybe round 2 sometime. Next time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's absolutely brilliant to hear, and you're into the whole body thing. You're working on a new book now. You're saying something about feelings. What is it called?
Well, this book, it's just an idea at the moment. I haven't done a proposal or signed it up with anyone yet, but it's about how to get your head in the right place for success, basically, for creative or entrepreneurial success. And what I've realized is that I've now been coaching people for 15 years on making an impact on the world, creating businesses and things like that. And you can give people the best business strategy in the world, but the biggest problem people have, and I think I'm included in this, and everybody is our own mindset and what we believe is possible, and our own sabotage patterns and things like that. So the idea for the new book is to give people ideas for how to tackle those things, in order that when you get all of that out of the way, then you can be successful. And there is one chapter in the F-Work Let's Play book that covers that, which is called How to Guarantee Your Success. And I talk about time management and how to beat procrastination and perfectionism and that kind of stuff.
I was interested in the whole feeling thing, because first of all, I'm a body therapist, but also with Katrine, our whole constellation in the family, how everything changed for us when she started to put her own needs, not like wants and stuff, but put her own needs first, so she could be like. But in the beginning, as you said, she had no idea what she actually needed. Like she couldn't feel her body at all. Like she touched her legs, couldn't feel anything. So just to get to the place where she could start to feel her needs and then fill them up, so that she could come back as a fully functioning or semi-functioning human.
Stop yelling all the time and
a friend of mine described it as treating your body like a brain taxi. So this is Mark Walsh. So the only function of your body. A lot of software developers are like this. So I was a software developer at the beginning of my career for 10 years in creative software, and I treated my body like a brain taxi.
Yeah, we see that a lot, especially like the clients we had before we went on this journey. With us, like that, it's very prevalent in our Western societies. Like we've learned to cut off here and then just be up here, but we have to take into account everything that's going on below the chin. How did you come to that place? Like, because the overarching theme of all of this is whose life is it anyway, and how did you steer down this road? Like it's quite different from just being a software developer.
I started reading books about psychology when I was about 13 or something. So I was always interested in science and how the world worked. And I started reading science books at about 11 years old, or maybe even sooner, maybe even earlier. And I kind of ripped through all the physical sciences and, chemistry, electricity, electronics and physics and stuff, and biology. And then I went on to psychology and therapy and self-development. And I was not very happy as a child. I had a lot of medical things going on when I was younger, and my father died when I was very young, when I was a baby. So the combination left me fairly unhappy. And so I was kind of on a quest, I guess, on how to function better. And that's what got me interested. So although I also have this passion for technology, so I went into technology first and created software that was used by Disney and by the BBC and people like that. And then I knew I wanted to do something a bit more. It was a creative kind of job. I quite liked programming for a while. But after a while, I wanted to do something broad. I wanted to, I say in the book, a job can never hold all of who you are. That's the problem. But it can. So if you create a business or you create your own, portfolio career, you can be everything. You can be everything. You can express every part of yourself as part of your work. Pretty much all of it. Sometimes, the only bit, only one of my interests that doesn't get used in my work is probably my passion for electronic music. But every other interest I've got, I've managed to cram into running the ideas lab, and even then, I could even use my own music for my podcast, I guess, if I wanted to.
That's brilliant. Yeah.
So that's always a good idea, and I always wanted to do something a bit broader, and so I ended up in an internet consultancy for 2 years, which is really exciting, just at the height of the dot-com boom. And then that company actually collapsed at in the dot-com crash. And we moved as a team, 5 of us moved as a team to Deloitte. And Deloitte's a huge consultancy. And I found Deloitte very corporate. So I left after a year. And then I consulted independently to broadcasters on technology, which is my specialism. But what was interesting is that I'd already started studying stand-up comedy. I was doing a 12-week stand-up comedy course, and I was on a psychotherapy training course while doing
stand-up therapy,
while working at the BBC, speccing a multi-million-pound project for them to buy some technology. So I'm very much what's being called a scanner. I think this will interest a few people here. A scanner is somebody who, this is a term from a US author, Barbara Sher, who died last year. A scanner is somebody with lots of ideas, lots of interests, and you know, a lot of the interests seem to have nothing in common whatsoever. We love learning for the sake of learning. We're good at, but as soon as we got the gist of something, we tend to move on. We don't want to become, you know, the world's greatest expert in anything particularly. And we're good at starting things and bad at finishing things. And that's, I think a few people here will identify as a scanner.
Yep.
And yeah, so my books are written partly with a scanner personality in mind. Mm. And you don't have to be a scanner to read them, but it certainly appeals to creative people and scanners in particular. And I help scanners. I do one-to-one coaching with scanners. And you can be, the problem is I was a scanner myself, which is why I wanted to escape being in a job, because I felt like it wasn't quite interesting enough. But there are two kinds of scanner. I used to run a live event called Scanners Night in London. It ran for about 5 years and was got into the newspapers and stuff. People were fascinated by this idea. And what I noticed is that there's two kinds of scanners. There's kind of scanner who never gets anywhere. And they would come to Scanners Night, for instance, this event where we had talks in London. And then I'd see them 2 years later and they were still complaining that they wanted to escape their job and hadn't got anywhere really, hadn't produced anything. And then you see scanners who are very successful. And, you know, the most dramatic examples of that are people like Elon Musk and Oprah Winfrey and I'm trying to think, I mean, there's lots of entrepreneurs, Richard Branson. So they have many, many interests. And, you know, Richard Branson runs about 200, he doesn't run any of them actually, but he owns about 200 companies or something. And the difference between, there's a scanner's guide to success in the book, in fact. But one of the key things is you need to ship, you need to produce results. So you don't have to follow through on everything. If you want to, you know, I learned Japanese for like 1 year, I think. And then I can't remember how long it was, learned holiday Japanese, went on holiday to Japan, and then, you know, quit and never worried about Japanese again. I'm still occasionally, if I'm watching a film where someone's talking Japanese, I catch little fragments that I can understand. But you don't have to follow through on everything, but you have to follow through on the things that you want to turn into your work. And you need to produce, because you don't get paid. You can't get paid for ideas. This is going to break some scanners' hearts, unfortunately. You can't get. There isn't a way to get paid just for your ideas. You need to actually ship things. You get paid for creating value for people. Yeah. So you need to produce something. You need to entertain them. You know, if you half write a book and keep it on your computer, you don't get paid. You finish a book and you write it, you might actually get paid. You know, if you have an idea for a YouTube series and you do like half a video and then you don't kind of really bother with it, it's not going to go anywhere. So you have to, dabblers don't get rich is another phrase from the book. If you dabble, it's fine to dabble for fun, but if you're trying to get a business off the ground, you need to choose something, and this is why you need to choose something that you find exciting, that you enjoy. Yeah. You need to throw everything into it. Yeah. So you can make money out of really bizarre, obscure things by building a following on, you know, TikTok or Instagram. TikTok's easier than Instagram right now. It changes year by year. But it's not easy. And you're going to have to just live and breathe that topic for at least a while. Yeah. And yeah, you can't dabble. And the other thing to remember as a scanner is it's good to be T-shaped, T as in a letter, capital T. And the top line is your breadth as a scanner. So you're interested in all these different things. So I'm interested in the creative process and writing and comedy and technology and user interface and graphic design and interior architecture and, you know, popular culture and God knows what, memes and 1,000 other things. And then, but you need the vertical line. So you need to have deep expertise in something And that's often, I think of it as like having a craft or a skill.
Ah.
So if you have 100 different ideas, that's fine. No one's going to pay for those, unfortunately. But if you combine it with, being able to write, being able to speak, being able to code, no marketing. So when I work with people one-to-one, for instance, on their business, what they're really paying for, although I often have good ideas of what to call things and clever marketing ideas and stuff, what they're really paying for is my 15 years of expertise in helping people get businesses off the ground in business strategy and marketing. And so you need something like that to add to your breadth in order to make you really valuable.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked what you just saw, head on over to whoselifeisitsummit.com/podcast, where you can find full-length episodes as well as in audio format, and we do a lot of other cool stuff. You can hang out with us and other like-minded individuals who want to create a world that works for everyone. And we do that on our platform where we can chat, and we have Q&As and exclusive interviews as well. So there's so much to get over there. So come on over and play with us.